Hey everyone, welcome to the channel for another Escape from Tarkov video. In this one, I'm taking a trip back to my roots with some more solo player PvP tips, taking into account some of the most recent changes to the weight system, healing items, and map mechanics. Tarkov is a hard place to survive in general, but for a lone wolf, it's even harder. You need eyes in the back of your head, sharp ears, a quick trigger finger, and good decision making to come out on top when you're outnumbered. It's tough, but with smart plays and good shooting, you can run circles around enemy squads and pick them off one by one until you're on even footing. I can't promise that these tips will turn you into a PvP god in 10 minutes, but hopefully you can pick up some solid strategies and put them to use to bump up your survival rate in PvP fights. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at today's 5 tips for solo PvP and Escape from Tarkov. To start this off, the first point is all about the solo player's biggest advantage, stealth, and how many players completely negate this advantage by running without a suppressor or using tracer ammo. Going loud and using tracers isn't necessarily a full-on taboo. Sometimes it's much cheaper, or maybe you're in the mood to go loud and draw some more attention to yourself so you can get in more fights, and there's definitely a case to be made for that playstyle. However, if you're talking about optimal conditions to go undetected and survive a fight, a suppressor is a huge help for any solo player, and using tracer ammo is a huge disadvantage, which almost completely negates the purpose of the suppressor. When you shoot at someone with a suppressed weapon, it's likely your target will still hear it, and anyone close by will still hear it unless you're using a specific weapon like the MP5 SD or VSS. A suppressor makes you quiet, but it doesn't make you undetectable, only harder to detect. The real advantages of having a suppressor is that it prevents distant players from hearing your shots, and it completely negates your muzzle flash and makes it harder to quickly identify where the shots are coming from. So when I hear someone firing suppressed shots, but then see a bright red or bright green tracer line flying through the air, I shake my head a little bit. Using tracer bullets with a suppressor almost completely negates your stealth advantage, since your shots draw a very obvious straight line, literally directly back to your position. This gets kind of complicated since many of the affordable mid-tier rounds are tracers, and even I use stuff like 5.45 BT as backup ammo. Some players might not have the funds to get tons of good non-tracer ammo, and I understand that. So if you're going to use tracers, just always keep in mind that every shot you take points right back to your position. You can use this to your advantage in some ways by giving yourself away and then repositioning quickly while they focus on where the tracers come from. At the end of the day though, I would just recommend that if possible you invest in a suppressor and ditch the tracer ammo as a solo player. It'll keep you hidden and keep enemies guessing, which is exactly what you want. The next tip I've got is a pretty general pointer that will help you survive against both players and scavs. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but it's also surprising how many players don't seem to understand the importance of repositioning once shots start coming their way. Regardless of what kind of shots, or how many shots, or whether it's a player or a scav, a squad, or a solo, it's always a good idea to be on the move once a gunfight starts, and you should always be looking to improve your position or find a way to counter your opponent's position. Yes, it can often be risky, and you might have to put yourself in danger in order to reach that better position. But ask yourself this: would you rather die on the move while making a bold play and go out in style, or die to pre-fire or a grenade around a corner because you just passively held an angle and hoped your enemy would walk into your crosshair? When you get shot and stuck into cover, your first response should obviously be to shoot back, but after you've put their head down, you should take a look at your options to move and decide whether it's best to be aggressive and flank or fall back to better cover and let your opponent come to you. Either way, just stay on the move. Even if it's something small like moving to a different room in the same building, a window one floor above where you just were, or another tree in the same field. Grenades are an amazing tool to help you reposition, since they make an insane amount of noise and often force players to duck behind cover and lose sight of you. It's all about quick thinking and decision making, and in a hectic gunfight, it's often the one who acts first who ends up winning. You can be a tactical mastermind, but if you're a slow tactical mastermind and overthink every fight, you're going to get outflanked by the guy who just made a quick decision and executed it well. No plan is perfect, and all plans can fail. The trick here is that most people don't have a plan in the first place, so just go with the flow and make quick, decisive actions. You'll play with more focus and precision even with a basic plan, and you'll generally be able to simply bully most players who get freaked out when the shots start flying and dive for cover. Sound is one of the most important resources for locating other players and knowing what's going on at a distance without actually seeing anything. Every map in Escape from Tarkov has its own set of unique sound cues, whether they be simple things like footsteps on specific materials in Factory, or the multiple different alarms and environmental sound cues that now exist on a lot of maps in the game. It's definitely in your best interest to learn what the sound cues mean, and to always be listening for anything that might give you information on where enemy players are, where they're coming from, and where they're going. The most simple sound cues are gunshots, grenades, and movement sounds. Gunshots and grenades obviously indicate someone is fighting something, but if you get a good feel for the gun sound, you can often tell if it's two players fighting or a player fighting scavs. If you do hear another player fighting, that's a great cue for you to move in on them and flank while they're distracted. Player movements are obviously useful to detect where someone is up close, and my best tip for this is to get a good feel for the sound of different materials, like the difference between wood, metal, concrete, and broken glass when walked on, and to make a mental note of where those sounds come from on different maps. For example, on Factory, the majority of the surfaces are crumbled concrete, which has a generic crunchy footstep sound. However, the stairs and catwalks are metal, and the office has wooden floors. Therefore, if you ever hear steps on metal or on wood, you have a pretty good idea of where they are just based on the material that they walked on. This gets more complicated on bigger maps, but the general principle still applies. On Interchange, Labs, and Reserve, the alarm sounds can also be a good way to figure out where players are and where they're headed to. Each of these alarms means something. On Interchange, it means the power has been switched on and people are likely headed inside to loot. And for Labs and Reserve, it means an extraction opened and raiders have spawned. What it also means is that another player has just tripped that switch and is likely headed for that extraction, so you can set yourself up to cut them off while they're moving. With the addition of the weight system in the 12.4 patch, life as a solo player got a bit trickier since the weight that one player alone can carry is now much more limited. As a squad, it's pretty easy to divide the loot up so that nobody is super heavy, but as a solo, you can easily gobble up enough loot to start having serious debuffs on your movement, which is a big disadvantage. As a solo player, getting caught out in the open while overweight and slow is a really hard position to get out of. You have no buddies to cover you while you move, and you need to be able to cross open ground quickly and get to cover. So as a general tip to help you survive as a solo, try to avoid putting yourself over 50 kilograms of weight whenever possible. This is when the harsh movement penalties kick in and you start to become less effective in fights. This is not to say that you can never load up on the loot though, but you have to pick your moment really well. Make sure you've cleared the area and have a good route to extraction, then load up and move carefully using cover to regain your stamina. I've also got a little addition to this tip in the fifth and final one I've got for you in this video. In the 12.4 patch, the debuffs for combat stimulants in Escape from Tarkov was tweaked quite a lot, and now some of these little injectors are extremely useful, especially for solo players. These stimulants have various different effects, and they can be used to give you a serious edge as a solo player. If you use them at the right time, they let you keep fighting or keep moving when you normally would be stuck in a corner healing or recovering your stamina. The two main stimulants I've been using lately are the green ETG stim and the blue SJ6 stim, and they both have come up clutch while I've been playing solo. The ETG stimulant is a healing stim, which makes your character start regenerating health for 60 seconds, healing across all limbs, and it can heal you from 0 to full over that 60 seconds. This stim has been a huge help when a fight starts to go bad, and I'm hurt and stuck in cover trying to decide whether to heal or keep fighting. This stim lets you do both, and it can let you tank extra bullets by healing you as you duck between cover after you get shot. The debuffs on this stim are also surprisingly mild, and it really just drains your energy after it's done, so you just need some food to counteract that. The second stimulant I've been really becoming fond of as a solo is the blue SJ6 stim, which increases your max stamina and allows you to regenerate stamina even when overweight for up to 4 minutes. This one is clutch for those moments when you dropped a squad and just want to grab all their loot and quickly get to extraction. You can pile on as much weight as you want, pop this stim, and just keep running. It's also really nice when trying to run away from someone or make a super long flank. You can pop this stim and run way farther than anyone will expect you to be able to. The debuff on this one is a lot more harsh though, and once the effect ends, you start to get intense shakes and tunnel vision. This only lasts about 40 seconds, but you don't want to be in a fight when this debuff hits. Some of the other stims are quite useful as well. Adrenaline and Propital are like supercharged painkillers, and Zagustin prevents bleeding. However, the ETG and SJ6 are in my opinion the generally most useful stims. Well, that about covers it for these 5 tips for solo PvP. I hope you found them useful, and I think I might start working on some more videos similar to this one again, both for solo play and some of my tips for squad PvP. There's no magic formula to being successful in PvP, but if you develop good habits and play smart, you're gonna have a better time than people who just kinda wing it and see what happens. I'll be streaming more Escape from Tarkov on Twitch, and it'd be great to have you drop by the stream, so I'll leave a link to that in the description. There's also links to my Twitter and Discord down there, which I use to send out notifications when I'm going live. Finally, there's a link to my Patreon page as well, and if you want to be an absolute beauty and support the channel, consider checking that out, as it lets me commit more time to the channel and keep the content coming. Thanks for checking out the video. As always, feel free to leave any comments, corrections, or suggestions down below, and until next time, stay safe in Tarkov City.